To the match here. Gallegation, as usual, with the bios.
That is correct. We're going to be starting with Team ZeeZ this evening. Team ZeeZ is RIP ZeeZ. It's founded in July of 2012 after the demise of Zealot Zone, and it has been able to make the quarterfinals thus far in the StarCraft 2 Community Team League in both the Masters Grandmasters division and the Diamond Platinum division, so they're feeling pretty proud of what's going on there. And this evening, the first out for them is going to be a gentleman by the name of Raldan. He serves as both a player and the primary caster for the team. He actually plays as random. I'm pretty sure this is the only player that's in the entire tournament, at least in the Masters Grandmasters, that plays as random. I've never seen this, even in Season 1. It's crazy. But he attempts to utilize his vast game knowledge into his builds that he gained through playing all these different races that he uses in casting. He tries to incorporate that into everyday playing, and he chooses builds that maximize the uncertainty advantage that he gains by playing as random. So his opponent this evening is going to be HTO Mario. HTO Mario is a Grandmaster Terran from Belgium, currently residing in the United States of America. He plays for NoDice Academy team, and he's a serious mech player. He's recently come out of retirement to play for NoDice, and those are his win percentages, so I guess he's hoping that his opponent is not rolling Protoss based on those percentages, but we will see. I mean, there's no way to know at this point what Raldan's going to be.
It is a fact, and that's an interesting thing that you mentioned there with the random and the uncertainty advantage. It is very cool, and we'll see how. I'd expect to see some different builds out of that to sort of take advantage of that, but we will see what he does here as we jump on into game number 1 here, Gallegation, on this fine Wednesday. Not usual SC2CTL broadcasting day, but today it is because things are happening tomorrow. But on Waystation, game number 1 of this match between ZeeZ and NoDice in the upper right-hand corner, it is the red Terran representing NoDice Gaming. It is HTO Mario.
And in the bottom left-hand corner, representing Team ZeeZ, playing random and rolling Protoss, it is Raldan.
I feel like, oh gosh, I don't know. I was watching Home Story Cup this past weekend, and Balloon, I think it was, he actually plays random. And I have a lot of respect for players that play random, because you really have to be really good with all the races.
Yeah, I mean, all the intensity that goes into being a professional gamer and all the, like, microness, kind of knowing the meta of the races. I mean, obviously, as a pro player, you have to know all the different ones. You have to know the timings and all that jazz to try and get your own timings in. But being able to execute it as any race at any given moment without really having any prep to know one way or another, that's intense. Like, you've got to really be able to think quickly, really be on top of your game, be on your feet. So definitely mad respect for folks who can do that.
And and it is. I don't know. Which race do you think has the most? Well, obviously, it's been scouted now as HTO Mario sending out an early scout here to see what his opponent is. But what I was going to ask you is, what race do you feel has the highest uncertainty advantage?
Oh my goodness! I feel like uncertainty advantage is just another way of saying cheese.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it is. So which race has the best cheese when you don't know what you're facing?
Right. Well, I mean, like, you as the random player know what you're going up against, so I think that, like, it kind of depending on what you're going up against, what the best cheese for the situation is going to be. I mean, all of the races have their options. It looks like HTO Mario is actually building an engineering bay to block that natural right now. But I mean, some are more, like, safe in terms of you build it in your base as opposed to building it right next to your opponent, so I don't know what specifically would be the best one in this scenario. According to HTO Mario's win rates, Protoss was the feared race, and that is what happened. So, but it looks like there's not really a cheese build unless this is going to be turning into a 4-gate.
Yeah, I highly doubt it here. But I almost feel like, at least myself, when I'm going up against a random player, I feel like I have this ultimate need to get the SCV. I can't stand it. SCV walking right through the middle line, pet peeve. I don't care. I just have to grab it. But I feel like I have this just insane desire to scout at, like, immediately. Because especially as Protoss, you know, because me, myself, I have builds that I pretty much exclusively do against Zerg, for example, and I feel like terrible if I do a PvT or a PvP build not knowing, and it turns out to be a Zerg. But anywho, good times. Command Center going down in base here for HTO Mario. Robo is going to be the choice for Reldan, so it is not going to be a 4-gate, but there is going to be a Stalker coming out here to possibly put on a little bit of pressure. I do like that, as there are 3 Marines coming on across the field, and expansion going down as well. So between the Stalker and the Mothership Core, should be able to easily handle these Marines here, as long as he gets his Stalker back. Get back!
Micro! That one Marine does get taken out on its way home, and the other 2 are being chased by the Stalker and the Zealot, and this is kind of, you know, it's always funny how you do these back and forths, and those 2 Marines, well, yeah, now 1 Marine, if it makes it back, there are Marines waiting for it at the top of the ramp, so they're going to be able to push these units back, kind of playing tag. But there was some scouting there. Raldan did jump in to see if there was that expansion, and that's all.
Yeah, this is kind of one of my favorite things to do right now in PvT, is to make a Zealot and 2 quick Stalkers and just go push across and see what you can do, because a lot of Terrans I feel are playing really greedy lately. So a lot of times you can just kind of go in there, especially with those early Reapers or low numbers of Marines, and do quite a bit of damage and expand behind it. But it looks like Raldan did not get a whole lot of damage done, and there are 5 Marines here now walking across with some reinforcements behind. He does have 2 sentries, 1 Stalker, 1 Zealot, and a Mothership Core, so he should be just fine, as he does have a Photon Overcharge here, which he will put down and chase these poor fellows away.
That's right. It looked like HTO Mario actually did a scan in the main base here of Raldan at fairly early timing. It was right around 6:45, and that is, I mean, that's pretty early. We know that that's a decent timing to be scouting Protoss, but using a scan to do so, that's not a very typical play.
Yeah, and especially, you know, given, again, the fact that he's random, you going up against a player, especially since these rosters are established ahead of time, you can do a little bit of research against your opponent, kind of know what they do, but being random, it's a lot harder to figure out, okay, Reldan will do this against Terran, but as what race?
Right.
So, you know, that's scouting a little bit more important. Observer here, nice placement here, going right over the top of HTO Mario, moving across. This is actually pretty interesting out of HTO Mario, because as you read in his bio, and as we've seen, we've casted him, I think 3 or 4 times now this season so far, given he's played in some ace matches. He is actually a really heavy mech player, so it is interesting to see that he has no mech on the way right now. It's all bio all the time, with Stim about to finish up as he moves in for this push. It looks like there is a Photon Overcharge just barely available. Nice force field's going to zone out a lot of those units and force them away once again, and Reldan really hasn't lost anything yet. Now he is going to lose a Zealot. Another force field goes down.
Yeah, but that's still a pretty scary force, and it's continually being reinforced. Obviously, he's got to be out of the range of that Photon Overcharge, but that's going to be wrapping up here fairly soon. And then once that's done, he's got free reign to move back in again. The sentries are very low on energy, do not have enough for force fields. So Raldan's got to figure something out here to keep this army away. Starport
did just finish up for HTO Mario, and the reactor on the factory is finishing up as well. I suspect that the starport will be switched with that eventually to produce those medevacs 2 at a time, but you know, looking at the units lost, once again, it is double for HTO Mario at this point, so Raldan being very efficient here in the early game, but Mario is just kind of keeping him pinned back here. He is going to lose this probe, which may have been going out. Scan goes down, he sees what's there. He's going to try and rush in before the force field zone down, but he does get a couple nice ones, and a Colossus on the high ground is actually in a bad position, but does able to micro it back.
Yeah, he moves it right back in again. Does get taken out. He did not have his upgrade finished, but he hasn't even started extended thermal lance.
Nope, he has not, and he doesn't really have a lot of gas here. He's been spending a lot on sentries with HTO right outside of his base. Sentries being pretty important there to kill it out. And there is actually a observer here right over the army of HTO Mario, which he has not spotted yet. He did a good job of spotting that observer heading over towards the base of Reldan. Now he does spot it and scans. And reading my mind here, but looks like a pylon going down all over the place. Reldan wanting to make a push here of his own.
Yeah, he's putting those pylons all over the place to be able to reinforce from multiple angles, but at the same time, there is a drop loaded and on its way across the map. And that could be trouble. It's not a full drop, barely. It's
wow.
missing a single Marine, but
Raldan trying to push the issue here, taking out a supply depot and trying to take out a couple more Zealots moving in, but that concussive shell really holding those Zealots back, but is allowing the Stalkers to do quite a bit of damage. But now that drop coming into the main base, there is nothing here for Raldan to defend this right now.
yeah, the best thing that he can really do is do these warps in, and that's what he's choosing to do. But again, with those concussive shells, these Zealots are easily microed. There comes the Colossus to save the day, and Mario does pick up and head out.
Sometimes some of the voices I hear in my head for units such as that Colossus walking over like, "Hey guys, what's going on?"
Almost like your own personal StarCrafts episode.
Yeah, kind of, sort of like, "What's up guys? Need some help over here?" Nope, well, it looks like everything's okay, but it looks like HDO Mario continuing to rally over in the middle of the map here. He is putting down a third command center. He is going to actually, a probe is heading across to put down a Nexus right on top of this drop here, so he is going to lose this probe and not get a Nexus. And this pylon in the middle of the map is also going to be taken out as HDO moves across. So extended thermal lances now does just start. Blink is half done. +1 armor is done. +2 on the way. So those are the only upgrades on the field host so far. And HDO Mario actually got that engineering bay down really fast, but we haven't seen any upgrades out of him yet.
Yeah, I almost wonder if waiting so long to get extended thermal lance was quite intentional by Raldan there, as he has been making a lot of Colossus. He's got 2 on the field currently, but a third one is in production. 1 died as well. That drop did go back in there very briefly. But yeah, he's invested a lot into the Colossus, and just now getting their upgrade, it just seems a little bit incongruous.
HTO Mario now going for a big Doom drop on the left side, while he does have his small drop on the right, forcing the units of Raldan to attend to that. Just waiting to bait him back before he goes in for that drop, while Raldan is pushing a little bit to the front with some Zealots. But here comes the Doom drop, Allegation.
Yeah, it does, and Raldan is not in position at all. Now is scrambling to get his army up there. The probes are being pulled. Oh my goodness.
Oh, +1 armor is going to be taken out before it finishes.
Yep, that is not going to be going down. And Raldan is not happy about that. He's going to try and punish this army for doing such horrible things to him, but looks like a few medevacs are able to get out, but not with a huge payload.
Second drop here at the natural expansion of Raldan by HTO Mario. We have seen that when HTO Mario does go bio, he is heavy on the drops, and he is putting on the heat right now in this game, which is keeping Raldan very busy. And he did also see the Templar Archives here going down with Storm. Storm going to be really useful at this point, especially with big drops. A lot of these medevacs really stacking up in the energy. If you just leave a couple Templar back, you can a lot of times just snipe those medevacs coming in. But it looks like this army of Raldan is going to be spouted here, as HTO does have the tower in the middle of the map.
And it looks like he's actually running some units home, but not before putting a drop in back at this natural. Not a whole lot going on, though, in terms of aggression, as Raldan did turn around and is able to take down that drop. But he is going to see that the Templar Archives is there. It is researching, so he's got forward warning of that storm.
So looking at the army and worker supply right now, it is definitely in favor of HTO Mario, but not by a whole lot. So this still could really swing any way here, depending on what ends up going down by Mario. He's putting down a third base here at the far expansion, and I feel like Raldan, if he would scout this, he could really exploit this with either some of those High Templar or eventually some DTs. But Armory going down, as well as Ghost Academy, so obviously he did see that Templar Archive, so Ghost Academy, an appropriate response. Oh, Widowmine is going to block that Nexus from going down. Oh, but did he see this drop coming in on the right side?
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either.
Yeah, there's a drop going in on the left side. There's a drop going in on the right side. Oh my gosh, he's going to take down this pylon that's going to block this Zealot leg speed. Sure enough. Oh, he's going to try and take them out too, but the reinforcements come just in time. The medevac does get taken out. And, geez, oh, Pete's, wow. Running right into that storm there.
Yeah, he tanked the crap out of that storm.
Now, he's still doing some decent probe damage, though, with those hurt units. They do get cleaned up, but again, another drop, and HTO Mario is just pulling Raldon in every direction right now. He's got to be getting really frustrated with this.
Yeah, I mean, it is super hard to do. Oh, the energy on those medevacs. Oh, look at the energy on those medevacs. Those 2 Templar were just barely out of feedback range. That would have immediately put the squash on that. But Mario doing a good job of expanding behind this. I mean, he's really... I mean, Mario, I would say... I mean, we saw that epic TVP between HTO Mario and I can't remember which Zerg, but it was a Zerg where just the micro that went on in that game was absolutely mind-numbing. So HTO Mario definitely one that can really micro his units, and he's using that to his advantage in this game so far. Oh, that silly mine.
And took out two probes. And he even knew it was there, too. Like, he moved his observer. And I assume that pulling 2 probes was intentional, one to bait the mine, but they were just too close together. So that's definitely got to be kicking yourself at the turnout of that. In the meantime, there is a large drop for HTO Mario going back into the main. And this is just, you know, he's just getting hit on every angle here.
And there are 2 Templar here, so sees what his reaction time. It does take out 3 of the medevacs. All 4 of the medevacs are down, so these units are trapped in the main base, but they are doing a ton of damage waiting for the army to respond.
Yeah, and he's moving just as quickly as he possibly can. But as you said, a lot of damage is going down. Colossus are showing up now, though, and that is going to clean those up.
Yeah, but honestly, I mean, that's going to put an end to HTO Mario's ability to do drops here. So Raldon could begin to stabilize a bit, but I mean, looking at the supply, it's 28 probes to 58 SCVs right now, and the army supply is actually still in favor of Raldon. So if he is going to have a chance, he needs to push now, and I think he recognizes that because he is moving across the map as his economic advantage is lost here. He's putting down that 3rd Nexus, but he's just so far behind on the probes, going to start walking right through the range of that sensor tower, so Mario knows exactly what's coming, especially with that scan there. And he's got a lot of Vikings, holy cow.
Wow, that is a lot of Vikings. Nearly 40 probes killed by HTO Mario, so that's really crippling that economy back at home. You almost have to wonder if almost too many Vikings are here, but they are making short work of those Colossus, and now the Ghosts are moving in EMP on all the Zealots.
Oh, did get an EMP down on that one High Templar that was there, so no storms will happen this day. And now with that, that is going to be a GG. So, I mean, definitely a game that we expect out of HTO Mario. I'm really impressed with the play I've seen out of him this season. He's one of those players that after this season's over, regardless of the outcome for NoDice Gaming or HTO Mario, I definitely expect to see him do some pretty awesome things here with WCS or the other tournaments. I hope to really see him because he's got some cool moves that you don't see out of a lot of people so far. But a great game by both players. Raldon just could not handle the pressure of the multi-point drops from HTO Mario is what it boiled down to.
Yeah, what do you think that he could have done there to try and to do a better job of defending those drops and ultimately keep a leg in the game?
I mean, when I end up in that position as a Protoss in a PvT, I try and put down some static D. I mean, there's a meme about that the other day, so I wish I had that image to to show up. But put some static D in those spots that are just keep getting hit and leave. I mean, if you put a few cannons and a couple High Templar, that can, especially a late game when your energy is really stacking up on those medevacs, that can pretty much squash it there, or at least let you move out a little bit because. I mean, he just had no defense, so he had to leave his entire army back, and his giant lumbering army had to weave its way through the catacombs of his buildings and base to get over to one drop, and then turn right around and go back the other way. So yeah. I feel like some static D and just kind of leaving a couple High Templars back would have at least let him get out on the map, or going for some DTs, maybe just a little bit of harassment here and there. But either way.
Yeah, no, I think I agree, and there was... there was a game yesterday that we saw between ZeeZ and Micro Gamers where there was a similar situation where there was heavy drop play against a Protoss player that was going Gateway and Colossus. And I really liked the play that we saw out of that where there was kind of basically 2 groups of armies that each one was small but each had a Colossus. And we're basically able to shut those drops down. So the Terran player kept investing and really not getting anything on the return for that. So I almost wonder if a similar strategy there would have been useful. At any rate, neither here nor there. That puts NDG up 1-0 against their opponents, RIP ZeeZ.